Hello and welcome. My name is Marty Peters and I want to welcome you to Rotary In Action. Today's episode is a very unique episode that we're giving for you to consider, and that is a very special organization called Rotary Youth Exchange. This is a program provided by Rotary for young men and women in early school years, junior high school, to consider an opportunity to travel and go away from their families and learn other parts of the world, other cultures. And this afternoon, we're going to have a very special time to share with you some very special young men and women that have gone all over the world. When we come back, we'll introduce you to them at that time.
As a Rotary Youth Exchange student, you will spend a year or an extended holiday living with a host family in a country other than your own. You might learn a new language. You will learn a new way of living, and you'll learn a great deal about yourself. You will see sights you've never seen, hear sounds you've never heard, do things you've never done before. And one thing is certain, you will never be the same.
My Rotary Youth Exchange year was the greatest year I've ever had in my entire life.
We're having so much fun here. I mean, yeah, it's really nice.
Oh, I like everything. I like my host family. I like my friends. I don't know. I like so many things I have learned that I didn't do before.
I'm never going to forget this year, the rest of my life.
Rotary really changed my life, how I look at things, very differently than I looked at them before.
Thank you, Rotary. Thank you, Rotary.
With us today, we have two special students that have been on their youth exchange already. First, our guest, Alex Lyon, who has already been and now back in college here in the United States. Alex is now a sophomore, I believe, in school, and first year, freshman in college, and will share her experiences with us a bit later. Next to Alice, Stephanie Burgener, who is a high school student who had a great opportunity to go travel some time ago. And when we come back, Stephanie will be our special guest to talk and share her experiences. And last, and certainly not least, is Bill Sturgeon. Bill has been in our district, serving in Rotary for years and years and years, and has had a passion for youth exchange that is awesome. And we're delighted to have all three of you here and share your experiences with us all this evening. Bill, can we start off with you giving us all a feel of what is this youth exchange? How did it start, and what's happened in this last 5 or 10 or 15 years?
Well, youth exchange started initially in Denmark before the Second World War, and obviously stopped during the war, but immediately after the war they picked it up again and started exchanging. They did it just in Europe to start with, and it caught on over in our country back in the 60s. California became one of the first ones to do that. Then in the early 70s, Rotary said, this looks like a very good idea. I think we'll encourage this and sort of sponsor this. And from that time on, it's been expanding and expanding. It started initially with the full year exchange, and then they've added a youth exchange for summertime, anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. And they've added even a shorter exchange called summer camp. And now they're expanding even beyond this. Now they've handled the 15 to 19-year-olds. They're going from 19 to 24-year-olds to cover the ones they've missed before. So they feel it's probably one of the best means by which you can build better friendship and make the bridges to the different countries and different cultures. And it certainly changes everyone's life. And this is the way that this is Rotary. So. It's a remarkable occurrence, a remarkable feat, and I've fallen in love with, as you said, with Rotary Youth Exchange. So it's a labor of love for me.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, we've seen this for years with Bill in our own region. You can't get them away from it. But also, part of this is to build global citizens, young men and women to get out and do it. Would you tell us a little bit, Alex, about how did you find out about this silly thing called Youth Exchange with Rotary?
Well, my junior year of high school, I went to RILA, and Bill Sturgeon was there, and I got to talking to him, and a lot of the other people in my group at RILA were all excited about youth exchanges, and I'd been wanting to travel, but I just didn't want to go away for a whole year. And so then when I found out about these summer camps that were just for a few weeks, and it's all sponsored by Rotary, I got right on it and applied and went.
When you applied, was it part of your school or just through RILA you found out of it? And then how did you go about applying after that?
Just through RILA. I think you gave me your card, Bill, and and I came back and I called, and so it wasn't really through school. It was just me finding what I could do.
Going and doing it,
Yeah.
just to speak. And how did you find out about it, Stephanie? Somewhat similar, or?
No, actually, my sophomore year of high school, I was friends with she was a senior, she was the president of our high school's Interact Club, and I was a second year French student, and she was telling me about this trip to France that she had gone on with Rotary, and I was like, what is this? And she gave me Bill Sturgeon's phone number, and I gave him a call, and I went on my trip, and now I'm an active member of the Interact Club in addition to it. And that was about it.
So here you are, back from a time in France, helping your language skills, still in high school, and getting involved now in the youth organization here at your own local high school. It's amazing how this all sort of comes full circle. You know, it's interesting because we all are trying to help promote youth and international understanding and cooperation. And we hope that when we come back, we're going to show a little tape right now. And when we come back, we'll have, this is a little tape of a conference that went on, which is sort of wild and crazy people that are happening at this Youth Exchange Conference. With that, let's watch the tape.
At the heart of Rotary International is service, understanding, and goodwill. More than 1 million Rotarian men and women worldwide support humanitarian work in communities all around the world. Service to youth, to the elderly, to the disabled and the disadvantaged. Worldwide, Rotary means friendship and helping others. Every year, Rotary's Youth Exchange program changes the lives of thousands of students between the ages of 15 and 19. For decades, the volunteer efforts of Rotarians from over 70 countries guarantee that each student in the program receives the support and guidance they need.
And one of the things that we're proud of is these kids' parents say, I feel so comfortable that my child has been prepared as well as anyone could possibly be prepared to spend a year abroad.
She's going to go to either Argentina or Chile, somewhere in South America, and she speaks Spanish. She wants to be a Spanish teacher, so this is going to be a great opportunity for her.
This going away for a year through the Rotary Youth Exchange is going to change his whole life.
No matter what country they go to, I think the preparation and the support of the Rotary program, it always makes it the best year they've ever had.
Now we're back, and I wanted to share with you, first, my question that's getting to me is, when you were there, Alex, tell us about your experience when you went to Portugal, and how did you pick Portugal, and what happened when you were there?
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. My grandfather was Portuguese, and so my mom has always been talking about Portugal when I was growing up, and so I was just interested in that country. And when I saw that it was on the list of places where you could go, I said, sure. So once I got there, I was with, I think, about 13 other students. Okay. They were all from different countries in Europe, and I was the only American. And I was actually the first American that had ever gone to this Rotary Club in Portugal. So that was kind of neat. We stayed in a little hotel. It was a little family-run hotel, and the man who owned it was the president of the Rotary Club there. So we had our rooms, and then he would take us around and take us out to dinner a lot, and we got to go to the beach a lot, and then have little walking tours of the city. I was in Setúbal, which is about 30 miles south of Lisbon. And we learned all the history of the area and got to eat wonderful seafood every night. And then after that was about 10 days, and then I spent a week in Lisbon with another Rotary, actually a Rotaract family. and got to learn all about Lisbon.
And those families would take you into their homes? Is that sort of the way it works?
right.
So you're eating their meals with them and just you're another kid in the family?
Basically.
And Stephanie, was yours sort of the same thing, only in France it must have been with their food?
Oh, well, yes, I did the same thing Alex did with a camp, but mine was a 2-week camp, and there was 8 of us, all from different European countries, except for one girl who was from Brazil, but she was staying in England as an exchange student there, and then she went on the camp in France. We stayed in Orléans for 2 weeks with this group, and we traveled around the Loire Valley. And then, because I'm an American and I traveled a really long way, the president of the Rotary Club that was running it sent me to Brittany for 2 weeks to stay with his daughter in their beach house. And this is all set up. And I ended up staying with 9 host families in the period of 30 days. And from everywhere from like a nice house out in the country to a little tiny apartment where I'm sharing it with like the kids of the family. And another anecdote, I'm a vegetarian and they don't understand vegetarianism in France, so I gotta try a lot of interesting things they had to offer me as substitutes.
Substitutes.
A lot of cheese.
A lot of cheeses, a lot of tofu. Bill, you want to add something to this?
Yes, we talk about the benefits for the young people, and it definitely is a tremendous benefit and a life-changing experience for them. But more people are involved and more people are affected than that. Yeah. The families with whom you stayed are affected and become better for your own families become better for it also. You bring the information back. And all the people you contact, both there and here, are learning from the experience. So it's a very broad-based experience that we get. And so I know for you it's wonderful. For them it's wonderful also. And for me, to see it happen is wonderful too. So.
Yeah. You wonder about contacts for the rest of your life. I want to get these names and addresses because I'd like to go over there and stay in the Loire Valley. What a great opportunity for you. When you've come back home, I would imagine, are you still communicating with them and writing?
Yes.
That's part of the deal.
I communicate with the kids that were in my group, and then also my host families all gave me their addresses and want me to write with them and invited me to come stay again. And so I've made great friendships like all over the world.
I imagine they'll be visiting us sometime in the near time too, right?
Sure will.
Now, this next tape that we're going to share with you is showing some of the benefits of these programs that we have highlighted, and we'll watch that and then come right back.
If you meet the requirements, an unforgettable adventure will be in store for you. The adventure of a new country, a different school system, a caring host family, and many new friends. The everyday challenges will strengthen your maturity and self-esteem. Your new sense of independence will help prepare you for your future adventures in life, and along the way, you'll have a blast.
I'm feeling both happiness and then sad, and sometimes I miss my family, but then, no, this year is so good.
You can see lots of things which is really different from your country.
It's just a wonderful time that I'll never forget.
Yes, we're back. I wanted to ask Stephanie a question. Now that you've been back, I wanted to ask you about your being back in school here. I would imagine you think a little bit differently about your life now as a student here in high school. Tell us about the changes that you found.
Well, first of all, my entire view of our culture has changed because I've grown up with a certain idea of what America is. But after speaking with people from other countries and their stereotypes of Americans, it's made me have to re-examine our culture and the way I act in my culture. And on a different note, I've also become extremely interested in languages. Next year, I'm going to study linguistics. I want to travel the world and learn the languages of the world, and it's mostly because I went on this trip with all these different students from all over the world, and they're all speaking with different accents, and I got really interested in everything that they had to offer in their cultures. So it changed what I'm going to spend the rest of my life studying. So.
How did your mother and father react to all this? I'm sort of curious.
They weren't surprised because it's sort of in my personality. They're kind of introverts, so they were very excited that I want to go out and do things that they haven't done. My mother's never left the United States even, so that I would go out and want to be doing all these things, they're they're really proud, I guess.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Alex, how about you? When you're in college,
Yeah.
so it's had a big difference now. What was your first impression when you came back to the States? How did you react? Were you obviously differently or something?
Well, I think it's an experience that you keep thinking back. Now that I'm in college, I keep thinking back to it all the time. You know, I think throughout my life I'll remember that as something that I, think about in terms of culture, just like Stephanie said. And now this year I've gotten interested in anthropology, and so it's really interesting to look back at how I reacted to being in this completely different culture, and then coming back. But when I came back, I was just so enthused about Portugal, and I just couldn't stop talking about all the wonderful things that I saw and what a gorgeous country it was, and I couldn't believe how beautiful everything was and how friendly everyone was, and I would just talk to anybody who would listen.
Yes.
Makes sense. How about your mom? How has she reacted to this now that you have this
She really liked
emphasis?
it. Of course, my parents were both really jealous that I got to go and they didn't, and now they want to go back, and I want to go back too, so who knows?
That's great. And in your studies now in anthropology in college, do you find that you don't know that'll be your major, or is that?
Yeah, I'm considering it for a major.
Good for you. Good for you.
And I think part of that was my experience in traveling. That was my first time traveling outside the country, and it's just such an eye-opener.
I was going to mention that we had this opportunity to be here tonight or today and share you with this information, and there's so many youth that can't have this kind of an opportunity to go, and I've been hoping, Bill, how can we make this better? Is there something that you think that we could be doing around the country to make youth exchange more broader for more students to get involved?
I hope so. We're looking at that very seriously. In fact, the new international conference coming up, there's several sessions that we'll be speaking at, talking about new opportunities and alternatives to what we had before. And that's how, in one way, the summer camps develop, because it's a very reasonable way to go. It's all you pay is your airfare, and the countries themselves stand up and come up and say, "Well, we will sponsor them while they're here," because they realize the importance of the young people coming here, because they benefit from it also.
Sure, they do.
And they live vicariously from watching the young people have a wonderful time, and I think they hit on something very special in the summer camps, and that all the children, all young people from all different countries are there, ostensibly to see the sights, but then they find out that they like each other and they get along with each other, and they never thought they never had opportunity. So it's a tremendous benefit for everyone concerned.
They find that they have more in common than they thought.
More in common than they have differences, yes.
And the last thing I want to mention before this next break is you're getting to stay with families.
Yeah.
That must be an absolute thrill. You want to share with us something with a family that you might have remembered in Alex being in Portugal?
Well, the president of the Setúbal Rotary Club was kind of our sponsor and took care of all of the students that were there. And his family was just so friendly and inviting, and they took me in and they wanted to take me to all these different little beaches. And I just remember the first day, he picked me up from the airport, and I had, of course, flown for like 24 hours or whatever. And I got off the plane, and he said, "Oh, but I have to take you here before we go to the hotel." And he took me to this castle, and it was so amazing. And I was like, "Oh, wow," and took pictures of me and took me around the city before even going to the hotel. They were so excited.
This next clip that I wanted to show is about peacemakers, and I think it really typifies these two young ladies that are with us today, how peacemakers and leadership can come out of Rotary Youth Exchange. Let's look at this.
Youth exchange students take a personal role in promoting peace in the world. When you learn another culture and allow others to learn yours, barriers between people disappear. What you'll learn is tolerance and a true understanding of the differences and the uniqueness of the people of the world. Rotary's Youth Exchange Program is a perfect way for you, as the leaders of tomorrow, to express your concern for making the dream of peace in the world become a reality.
I want to try and do my best to solve problems that I can by my communication and by my willingness to learn about other cultures.
Rotary's let me meet all these new people and all the people from all the different countries, and it's weird seeing the different cultures here and how they talk and what they do for fun.
it's a great experience to see that people are not the same as you see them on TV.
So give it a try. Every new experience will be an adventure. Every new friendship will be a treasure. And what you learn will last a lifetime.
I spent my year in Koshigai, Japan.
I spent a year in New Zealand. I'm leaving for Denmark in 2 days.
I just spent the most exotic and wonderful year of my life in Thailand.
I went to Ecuador last year, and I'd do it again in a minute because it was the best year of my life. Everyone should go. Everyone.
We're excited to have you all back, and I wanted to spend the last portion of this show talking about the things that you think, where are we going to go with this in your own lives, but also how can Rotary make it better? What could we have done better to make your experience more fun or more exciting, or can it be done?
I don't think it can be done to make my experience more exciting. It was just the most incredible month of my life, and I will always remember it. The only thing that I'm sad about is that it wasn't longer. And I mean, I would go again, just like that. If somebody called me up and said, you're leaving tomorrow, I would go. And the only regret I have is that not more students know about it. Because at my high school, I would say only my friends who knew that I went know about this program. That it's just, the opportunity's there, and it's right there for students to take, but they just aren't aware of it.
Could we at our schools, could you be a speaker at your school to share Rotary Youth Exchange so that more students get aware of it? Could that be an opportunity?
Yeah.
At school?
I lugged my scrapbooks into class and
Did you?
showed everybody. But it really is exciting when you hear other people, what they've done. And I can't think of anything that would have really made my experience better. It was just great. But I was so impressed with what an international organization Rotary is, because I had no idea. I thought it was just, maybe just a California thing, United States. But that there was clubs everywhere in Europe, and all of these people were from different places all over the world. So the communication between the clubs, I think, is something that can really be important.
Mm-hmm. Bill, I'm thinking, there are 29,000 clubs and 1,200,000 men and women that are currently in Rotary around the world. And this is the opportunity for us to share with men and women that are watching today, watching this show. What would you suggest that we do to make this a larger program for more students to get involved?
Well, there's more than one way to get the word out, and we've had two examples here, one from RILA, one from Interact, from students there. It gets the word out. The Rotarians have to know about it, and the Rotarians do, and pass the word around. One thing that I didn't say is because they had Interact experience and RILA experience. They needn't be that way. Anybody can go. It needn't be people that had a connection to Rotary at all. In fact, this is up to the clubs then to tell the people in their community that this is available and to assist and make it possible for them. It's very simple to do. Just they have to get on the website, or else they can ask the chairman of their district about the information. But it's up to the Rotarians to pass the word, I think.
I would suggest also, too, that we have websites that this is all available, and it isn't just for Rotarians. I think the other issue is that if you're watching this and you're excited about Youth Exchange and you're a member in the community, you can look up the Rotary website and you can go right onto it and look, or you might be able to contact a Rotary Club in your own community. Now, Bill, you've got a thought.
There's a national website that they can get information on. It's called www.exchangestudents.com, and have all the information on all the various types of Rotary exchanges they have and contacts, and you can put your initial information in there, and someone will read it and pass the information to the person in your part of the country, and they will contact you. So it's there.
It's all available. It's just a matter of getting the information out for men and women to take a look and look at it. What I'd like to do now is share with you a videotape that we have on Ambassador Scholars. And this is a special other unique program that Rotary avails to men and women that are of college age or just graduating from college. Let's take a look at that. Glad to have you back. I wanted to mention, Bill had just said a thought that really struck my heart, is that many of these young men and women that have become ambassadorial scholars were formerly youth exchange young guys. And I know, Stephanie, you're going, woo woo. So it's with that I want to thank you, especially Alex, for spending the time to come here today. And for what reason I've got a tear in my eye, I don't know why. I want to thank you, especially for taking the time, coming away from college to spend the time here with us. And I wish you nothing but the very best going back and get good grades and maybe ambassadorial scholar someday soon. Stephanie, to you, keep on doing the great work and practice those French R's and have a grand time.
Thank you.
And for you, Bill, I can't thank you enough for all the efforts that you've done with Rotary in helping these young students get a great opportunity and become global citizens. And it's with that I thank you for watching. If you want any additional information, you know how to reach us. It's the Rotary website. And Rotary will be listed at the end of the show for you to call either somebody in your own hometown or the Rotary website at the International Rotary Organization. If you have any questions, let us know. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Since 1985, Rotary International's 1.2 million members have battled against polio. To find out more about Rotary's Polio Plus program, visit our website, Rotary, Winning the War Against Polio.